what's up? As I've already told you about in a couple of recent YouTube videos, and if you haven't seen them, go check them out. There's some behind the scenes on a big project in Las Vegas, as well as some filter reviews on here. Unfortunately, with my new cine lenses, none of my filters work anymore. So I needed a matte box. The obvious choice for a light and affordable matte box is the Tilta Mirage. That is what everybody is talking about right now. So I have used this matte box with the variable VND filters and some pure mist filters over the last couple of weeks. And in this video, I will tell you my opinion about it and everything I like and don't like about this. My name is Damien Cooper and welcome to Monkey Pixel. As always, let's put out a small disclaimer. Tilta sent me this matte box for free for this review. I'm not being paid for it though. I can say whatever I want. This is 100% my honest opinion, and they won't even see the video before I upload it and you see it as well. First things first, this is not an unboxing, but I want to show you what's in the box. Still cringe. Okay, so it does come in this padded nice box, which I probably won't use for traveling because it's a little bit too big, but I want to show you an overview of what's inside here. So first things first, smartly attached with Velcro to the upper side of the box is this little pouch for all of our filters. Right now I have some pure mist filters by Vexies in it, and there's already a review about this on my channel, so check it out. Then there's also the filter inserts in here. So we have one that we can freely exchange for all of our mist filters if you like to, or effect filters if we want to. I really do like this pouch because it also comes with a belt attachment. So when you're out shooting, you can just attach this to your pants and then you don't have to miss all your filters, and it's quick and easy to just change filters on the go. Next up, right in the middle, we obviously have our matte box itself. It sits in there quite neatly, and I will talk about the whole matte box in a little bit, but it sits right here in the middle. Then we do have 4 step-up rings because it has a 95mm clamp-on mechanism, so it won't work with any of your still lenses. But if you still want to adapt any of your still lenses, you can use one of these rings, and I tapped my microphone, I'm sorry for this. They go all the way from 67mm, 72mm, 77mm, all the way up to 82mm. So if you have a lens that has one of these filter threads, you can easily adapt it, and that works fairly easy. And I really prefer this mechanism over a regular step-up ring and do need a screw-in filter. Because if you have these, you just leave them on your lenses and then you can quickly change this matte box from all of your lenses, and this just takes a matter of seconds. On the top here, you also have an attachment for rail mounts. I'm not using rail mounts on any of my cameras. None of my rigs actually use rails, but if you do want to use this and you want to attach this to a rail system instead of your lens directly, you can do so, and this looks fine, I guess, but again, I never used it. Last but not least, we have our wireless motor unit. We have the motor itself as well as the units to control the motor, and with this we have everything complete in this box, and that's pretty much it. Let's talk a little bit about the matte box itself. In the front, in the typical carbon looking camouflage Tilta style, it has this clamp on top, but you can easily detach it with this little screw. And what I like about this is that even if you just detach it and go all the way with it, you can't lose the screw itself. And this is something that I really like because it is still attached to this thing. So this one is a mechanism I really do appreciate, because otherwise I would lose these constantly. And honestly, I'm not using this for most of my shoots because I actually encourage lens flares. But if you want to block out some light or lens flares, or if you want to shoot outside in the snow, which we actually did a week ago, then this one comes in handy as well. But for most of my shoots, I probably won't use it. Now, the matte box itself. And it's a typical rectangular fashion. It's really lightweight, and you have 2 inserts for filters. You have the typical rectangular one where you can insert your other rectangular filters, and you have a circular insert on the top as well. So this is where your mist filters with 95mm. your effect filters or your variable ND filter go. Here you have the variable ND filter unit, and this one you can't exchange. So this one is the fixed variable ND filter unit, which is pretty solid in build quality, and it has a little wheel on top so you can change the direction of your variable ND filter. And here you can also attach the motor to it if you don't want to use it manually, but you want to use it with the motor, but I will talk about this in a second. Installing your filters is absolutely easy. You just slap them in there. The cool thing about this is that the variable ND filter can be inserted in both directions. So if you're like me and you shoot as a solo shooter with one hand on your lens, you can put it on the left side, so I can not only pull focus, zoom in and out, but I can also change the filter. But then if you want to use it with a motor, then you put it on the other side, because this is where the motor goes. In order to get your filters out of the matte box, you have to use this lock mechanism. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not 100% convinced on this, because you can't do it with one hand. So you need to set down your camera either on a tripod or the floor. And in case of our shoot last week in the snow, this was not an option.
So one thing I really don't like about this design is that I have to unlock it on the right side to get the filter out, which is almost impossible if I'm holding the camera. So I have to put the camera down, and as we can see in a scenario like this, I can't put the camera down anywhere. So it's really kinda hard to unlock and pull it out without putting the camera down. So I feel like just a press on here somewhere would have probably been a better mechanism. But overall, I think most of the times you can just put the camera down, do it real quick with both hands, and then it's fine. But here, not 100% satisfied with this solution.
So I wish for some kind of mechanism where I could have my camera in one hand and still be able to pull out the entire filter system with the other, but this is just a minor gripe I have with this matte box. The way you attach the matte box to your 95mm cine lens or the step-up ring to your still lenses is fairly easy. You have this one little screw on the side here, and you just slightly unscrew it, put it on top of your lens, then screw it on again. So this one is really easy, and you can just easily exchange it from different lenses within a matter of seconds. So overall, I really do like the design of the Tilta Mirage matte box. So now let's talk a little bit more about the variable ND filter. We just finished filming our pure mist filter review for the Tilta Mirage matte box, and since we already have our provisional interview set up right here in my living room, I decided to do another variable ND filter test as well. So we're using the Sigma 18-35 right now, and if I use my internal ND filters, we come down to around 4 stops. So let us recreate this on the variable ND. This is the lowest setting we can have, and now we go up to what I would say is around 4 stops of ND. So that is actually quite nice looking, and I'm at 18mm on the C300 Mark III right now, so that's a Super 35 sensor. So keep that in mind, because that might actually come in handy later. So now we zoom into 35, and we can't see any cross polarization, and the image looks actually really well exposed and nice. As you can see, with around 4 stops of ND at 18mm on the Sigma 18-35, the ND looks great, and I love the fact that we have the option of just adjusting it little by little and don't have to stray from our base ISO of 800 like we would have to when using the internal ND filters of the C300, because it only goes in 2-stop increments. Now let's go very wide angle, because I'm using the 11-20 right now, and then we see if we do see a change with the ND filter right here. And then we're just going to unscrew this, then switching the lens, and as you can see, it's extremely easy to go from one lens to the next. Bam, that's it. Just clamp it on and we have the next setup. So now we're going all the way to 11mm, hitting record on that one again, and the ND filter still looks really nice. We do have a little bit of vignetting, but that comes with the territory if shooting on 11mm. because we do have a little bit of vignetting without any ND filters anyhow. So now, obviously, from the look of it, it's a little bit on the green cast side, but you could just crank up the tint inside of the camera or do it in post, easily fixable. Not a problem at all, and maybe you even like it. So now let's do a comparison between the variable ND filter and the internal ND filters again. So let's get rid of the variable ND filter altogether and do roughly 4 stops of ND, and there you can definitely see the problem, because if I'm going 2 stops of ND, it's a little bit too bright. But in order to adjust this, I have to go 2 entire stops more and then crank up the ISO to have roughly the same ND level. And right off the gate, I can see that this is a little bit more on the magenta and cooler side, like I already said. But overall, I still prefer having this and then just adjusting my white balance a little bit before I have to go all the way to ISO 2500, because I can't stay at ISO 800, which is my base ISO, which I'm trying to do all the time, because I can only adjust my ND filters in 2-stop increments. Let's throw in the variable ND again, go to our base ISO of 800, and it's a lot easier now to adjust perfectly. So now let's talk a little bit about the image quality of the variable ND filter, because most variable ND filters suffer from 2 things. One is a slight color cast and the other one is an X pattern. Unfortunately, the Tilta variable ND filters suffers from both. Yes, it does have a green color cast, it's not that bad, and if this is the only ND filter you use, it's really not that hard to fix, either in camera with a custom white balance or later in post. So the green color cast is not necessarily something that I would worry too much about, unless you keep constantly switching out the ND and no ND on the same shoot. Then it might get a little bit annoying to having to switch all of these shots. But if, for example, you shoot outdoors on an entire set, then it really doesn't matter at all. So now let's talk a little bit about the X pattern problem. And this is more of a problem when you shoot on ultra wide angle lenses and you also stop down all the way to 8 to 9 stops of ND. Last but not least, we're doing our most extreme test, and this is in bright daylight with the variable ND filter on the widest lens we have. So we're shooting at 11 millimeters, and usually the higher that you go in the VND filters on the widest lens you had, you do see some cross polarization. So let's actually look at it. This is the low setting of the variable ND filter, and as you can see, everything is way too bright. So now let's dial in our exposure, and so far this is looking great, but you can now tell that there's a little bit of vignetting on the lower bottom left of the image, and this is not the nicest. And if I go all the way to 9 stops of ND on 11 millimeters, you can clearly see the X pattern. Even if we crank up the ISO to compensate for it, not really working. So if it would be a little bit brighter outside on a hot sunny summer day instead of winter right now, and we actually would need to have the 9 stops of ND to expose properly, then this would not work. You can work around this a little bit by just closing your aperture a little bit instead of using the last 2 stops of ND on this when shooting on an 11 to 20, for example, or a 16 to 35 on a full frame sensor. Because yes, there is an X pattern, but it only shows up in these extreme conditions. In reality, most of the times you will be not using the 8 to 9 stops of ND most of the times, or you will be shooting in a mid-range and not completely on a wide angle. One more thing I really want to test is the wireless module for the variable ND filter. And a scenario I could see myself using this with is on a gimbal. And my go-to gimbal setup is the Canon C70 on the DJI RS2 with the Tilta advanced ring grip. And the cool thing about this is that it has a NATO rail, so we can actually attach it to the side grip of my ring grip. And that way I could just turn the variable ND while I'm shooting on a gimbal myself. So this would work in theory. Unfortunately, I am not able to power these via any of the batteries that I have. It looks like it just takes a regular AA battery. I looked it up online and it needs a 14500 battery. I don't know if this is an American thing, but none of the 100 batteries I have here, rechargeable or not, are actually able to power these. So I need to come up with a different solution, because for some reason the DJI RS2 also doesn't power it, which makes no sense because it does power a wireless follow focus if I want to. So in order to test these, we're going to improvise and we're going to set up a kind of wireless follow focus station here.
1 hour later.
After a little bit of improvising, we finally made it work. We're using our Hollyland Mars 400S Pro series to wirelessly transmit our SDI signal from the Canon C300 Mark III to a 7-inch monitor right here. And we power this one just by plugging it into a continuous power source. And we also have our V-mount battery on the Canon C300 Mark III powering the motor by Tilta, because as I've already said, we can't make it work with the batteries because I need some special batteries for this. But now we can test this. Okay, now we let Franco walk all the way from the office through my apartment onto the roof, which needs a lot of ND. And keep in mind, this is quite far away. So we'll see if this one still responds and if we can still make it work from here. So let's go. All right, right here it's pretty dark, so we need to open it up all the way. This is all the way open now. And then while moving upstairs, yes, put on your shoes. And now we need to add more and more ND. Okay, so this is definitely too far away, I think. But it does work. Now he's coming back in. So we're opening it up all the way to the back again. And coming back here. So it definitely did work, which is surprising. Again, it wasn't 100% smooth with the transition from inside to outside, but I will blame this on me being very far away. But in a real spot scenario, I would actually have this monitor mobile. I would have this attached to a small kind of handle or tripod. And then this would probably work very well, because as you can see, while he's standing right in front of me, it's very smooth and I can just gradually open and close the variable ND filter. So if you have a small crew on a set, this is absolutely amazing and this works better than I expected. Again, I probably won't use this a lot of times, but in scenarios where I would want to use this, this is actually pretty amazing. So what's my overall verdict of the Tilta Mirage matte box? I think it's the best matte box out there right now because it's really ultra lightweight, it looks good, it has a really easy mechanism to use and clamp onto all different kinds of lenses, cine as well as tinted lenses, and I do love the variable ND in there, not only with the option to use it wirelessly, but also as a general option for most cameras that don't have internal ND filters, like a Red Komodo, a Blackmagic Pocket 4K, 6K, or basically any mirrorless camera out there. So if I were to shoot on mirrorless cameras or a Red Komodo, this would 100% be my first choice of a matte box with a variable ND filter in there, because aside from the slight color cast, which you can easily work around, and the X-pattern problem when you shoot on an extreme wide angle lens, this is an absolute must-have tool for your cine lenses or your still lenses if you need a variable ND filter with a combination of mist filters or other effect filters. So I 100% recommend this with a little quirks that you need to work around and be aware of, but other than that, I really do like the whole package and I cannot recommend it enough. So if you want to get yours, check out the link down in the description below, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up because it really helps the channel grow. Subscribe for more, and I hope to see you on the next one. Blah blah blah. Okay.
You want to film it? No, of course. What
Yeah.
a fucking stupid ass question.
Is in everybody's mouth right now. What the fuck am I saying? Do you want to build a snowman? Tealy, 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 tealy. Oh, fucking so in the beginning.